I had the night all planned. Leslie didn't know it, but I picked up her favorite takeout from that quiet Italian place on 5th and was setting the table for two. Nothing fancy, just candles, a playlist we both liked, a bottle of wine I'd been saving since her last birthday. She was supposed to come home from what she told me was a casual happy hour with coworkers. I figured we'd toast her promotion together in peace. That's who we were, or at least who I thought we still were, simple, grounded, each other's person. She didn't text much that evening. Just a busy here, I'll be back late, with a heart emoji that felt oddly generic. At first, I didn't think much of it. Leslie had been riding high on that recent bump at work, senior project consultant. She deserved to celebrate. The food was getting cold by the time my phone buzzed. It was Liam, an acquaintance, really more than a friend. We chatted a few times at the bar where Leslie's team liked to gather after client wins. He worked security there. Cool guy, always had earbuds in, always kept his tone neutral. But that night, the message he sent made my stomach twist. Hey Garrett, I probably shouldn't get involved, but I figured you should see this. I thought you were at the party? If not, heads up. He attached a clip. No message beyond that. Just a 6-minute chunk of silent footage from the restaurant's side camera. I didn't want to press play. I really didn't. But something about the way he worded it, the awkward, heavy tone, made me uneasy. The clip showed the bar area from above. Lots of people, laughter, clapping, drinks sloshing, the kind of energy you can feel even through pixelated footage. The place was packed, mostly folks from Leslie's office, based on the name Ags and lanyards I recognized from the firm's annual dinner. Then I saw her. Leslie stood near the center, framed by low golden lighting and flanked by coworkers. She was laughing, really laughing, in that way she hadn't around me in a while. She held a champagne flute in one hand, the other hooked around Trevor's neck. Trevor. I remembered him, tall guy, neatly trimmed beard, the type who always offered tips about wine and made overly long eye contact. I'd met him once at a team barbecue. He complimented Leslie's earrings and didn't shake my hand until she introduced me twice. In the video, he leaned toward her. The crowd clapped, someone had just said something into a mic, maybe a toast, and then she turned, wrapped both arms around him, and kissed him. Not a polite kiss. Not a drunk, 1 second, oops kind of kiss. No, she pulled him in. Kissed him like they were alone in a room. He held her waist. Her hand cupped his face. It went on for 5 full seconds before someone shouted and people laughed like it was some kind of romantic comedy moment. Like it was all part of the party. I paused the clip. Then I watched it again. And again. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, replaying it on a loop, like if I watched it enough times maybe it would morph into something else, a hug, a joke, anything but what it was. But it never changed. Every time I saw it, it got harder to convince myself that it didn't mean what it clearly meant. When she walked in the door later that night, she smelled like Prosecco and citrus. Her cheeks were flushed. She dropped her bag by the kitchen island, took off her heels, and smiled at me like everything was fine. Hey, babe, she said, spinning in place. You're up. I didn't think I'd be this late. I didn't say anything. Just slid my phone across the counter with the video open. She glanced at it, furrowed her brow. Then she picked it up and watched. Her expression didn't change much, just a slow blink, a small frown, and then a tight exhale as she handed it back to me like she was returning a receipt. Oh, come on, she said. That's what this is about? I stared at her. You tell me. It was nothing, she said, her voice suddenly flat. I was buzzed. We were celebrating. You know how Trevor is, he's just affectionate. People were cheering. It was a moment. A dumb, dramatic, nothing moment. A nothing moment. Yes. You kissed him, Leslie. She blinked. No. He kissed me. I pulled the phone back toward me and hit play again, not taking my eyes off her. She watched herself lean in, linger, smile. When the clip ended, she shrugged. Okay, maybe it was mutual, she muttered. But it wasn't like that. It didn't mean anything. It was celebratory. You kissed him in front of everyone. And they cheered. That's what kind of night it was. My jaw clenched. It was stupid, she added quickly. I should have texted you. I shouldn't have let it get like that. I get it. I messed up. But please don't blow this out of proportion. You weren't there. It was just a thing. A 5-second thing. She went to the sink, poured herself a glass of water. Her tone was suddenly full of offense, like I'd ambushed her. I can't believe you're letting some security footage define the whole night. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because everything I wanted to say would have blown up into something we couldn't walk back from. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. So I nodded. Once. Slowly. Okay, I said. That was it. I didn't fight. Didn't follow her to the bedroom when she stomped off, muttering about trust and overreacting. I just stood there in the kitchen in the half-light listening to the muffled sounds of her brushing her teeth and getting ready for bed like any other night. But I didn't go upstairs. I sat back down at the table and opened the video again. Played it a few more times, watched her body language, the way she looked at him. Watched the way she smiled when she thought no one else was watching. And the more I watched it, the more I realized something. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a one-time heat-of-the-moment slip. It was too casual. Too practiced. Leslie wasn't apologizing, not really. She wasn't shocked or scared or guilty. She was annoyed. Defensive. The kind of reaction someone has when they've already justified something to themselves 100 times before they get caught. It hit me like a wave I didn't see coming. This wasn't the first time. And suddenly everything started to make a terrible kind of sense. The thing about catching someone in a lie, a real one, not just a white lie or a deflection, is that it doesn't just make you question the moment. It pulls threads loose in every memory you've ever trusted. That night, after Leslie went to bed, I stayed up and let my mind unravel. I didn't mean to. It just happened. Like someone tilted the filing cabinet in my brain and all the ignored files came sliding out at once. Random things. Incomplete moments. Questions I had asked and brushed off her vague answers to. I started to see them differently. Take her new work schedule, for instance. It started 4, maybe 5 months ago. She used to be out the door by 8:15 and home by 6, like clockwork. Then, suddenly, she began leaving earlier and getting home later. Client calls in Europe, she said. Internal realignment. We're onboarding a new ERP vendor. It all sounded just corporate enough to sound real, and I never pressed her. I never wanted to be that guy, suspicious, invasive. But now I remembered how she'd stopped texting me during those late hours. How she once came home at 10:40 p.m. from a team dinner with her eyeliner barely smudged and a bruise on her collarbone she said was from her purse strap. I hadn't said anything. I just filed it under strange but probably nothing. Now it screamed at me like a red flag I'd ignored. Then there was the gym. Leslie had always been fit, but she suddenly joined a high-end gym 2 towns over, not the one near our house, not the one her best friend went to. A different one entirely. She said they had better instructors. I remember thinking, sure, why not, but now I saw it for what it might have been, distance. Distance from places I might show up. She started waking up early for those sessions. Too early. I once found her dressed at 5:15 a.m., full makeup, checking herself in the mirror. Spin class, she told me, sipping cucumber water like she was in a spa commercial. Spin class, and she looked like she was headed to brunch with a magazine editor. The perfume, 2 new ones I never recognized. Sweet, floral, then suddenly woody, musky, expensive. I'd ask, new scent, and she'd say, sample from a coworker, or I found it at that place in the mall, you know the one. But none of the bottles were from the mall. They were niche, imported, and I only know that because I Googled them later that night. One of them, something French I couldn't pronounce, was $270. I remember thinking, we're not perfume people. Her phone habits changed around the same time. At first, it was subtle. She stopped leaving it on the nightstand. Then she started flipping its screen down. Then came the locked screen, which wasn't that weird, but then came the new password. I asked once, joking, what, you got state secrets on there? And she laughed but didn't tell me the code. I didn't push it. That's the part that still gets me. I saw the signs and I let them pass like scenery out a car window. I told myself trust was more important than suspicion, that good partners don't snoop, don't accuse. But now? Now I felt like a fool. I remember the business trip to Cleveland. She had been gone for 3 nights, said it was a last-minute thing, something about an audit for a new client. She brought back a tan line burn from a swimsuit and a pair of turquoise drop earrings. I asked about the burn and she said the hotel pool had sunspots that just came through the skylight weird. It was October. The earrings I'd never seen before. I asked if she bought them at the airport. She laughed and said, no, silly, they're from that street vendor near the marina. Then she paused and added, in Cleveland. There's no marina in Cleveland. I remember catching that but saying nothing. Why? I don't know. Maybe I didn't want the answer. There was another thing small, but it stuck with me. She started drinking more white wine. We'd always been a red wine household. Merlot, Cabernet. But one night, I came home and saw an empty bottle of Sauvignon Blanc in the trash, the kind Trevor once brought to a housewarming party. I remember commenting on it, joking about her turning traitor, and she shrugged, saying, it pairs better with lighter moods. Lighter moods? What even was that supposed to mean? Everything was so casual, so offhand. Her cover stories were breezy, unsuspicious in isolation. But that was the trick, wasn't it? The lie didn't stand alone, it hid in a crowd of almost truths. Little deflections. Barely noticeable redirects. And I never questioned them because Leslie didn't act like someone who had something to hide. She acted like someone who had already hidden it. I started thinking back on how much she changed her wardrobe too. Slowly. At first it was subtle, new yoga pants, new jackets, sleek, form-fitting. Then came the new bras I never saw her wear at home, lingerie that showed up in the laundry but never in our bedroom. Once I asked, "When did you wear this?" and she laughed, saying, "Don't flatter yourself. It's from before." That didn't even make sense. Before what? Before me? And Trevor. God. He started showing up in her stories a lot more. Always incidental. "Oh, Trevor handled that," or "Trevor actually brought lunch for the whole floor today." His name slipped into her sentences so effortlessly, like he'd always been there. Like I should have just accepted him as part of her life. One night, months ago, she mentioned him while scrolling through her phone, laughing at some video he'd sent to the team. I asked to see it. She hesitated just a beat too long, then handed me the phone, but the video had already closed. "You wouldn't get it anyway," she said, chuckling. "It's an inside joke." That's what she called him, I remember, the funny one. The funny one. I should have known. I think the worst part wasn't the kiss at the party. It wasn't the earrings, or the new perfume, or the tan line, or the text she hid, or the change in schedule. It was the way I started second-guessing everything about us. The routines, the quiet nights, the shared meals. I started wondering if I'd been the side character in my own marriage while she lived a second life in plain sight. What else had I missed? What jokes had I laughed at that were covering something else? What late-night calls had I shrugged off while she whispered plans into someone else's ear? That night, I barely slept. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the glow from her phone lighting up the room every so often. She didn't check it. She didn't stir. She slept soundly like someone with nothing to fear. And that was the moment right there when I realized I was already alone in this marriage. Not officially. Not on paper. But emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, I was already on the outside. She'd stepped out. And I hadn't even noticed the door closing behind her. I didn't go looking for confirmation. I wasn't digging through drawers or sneaking glances at her phone when she was in the shower. If I'm being honest, part of me still didn't want to believe it. It was easier to think I was overreacting than to face the wreckage head-on. But the truth doesn't care about your timeline. It just shows up. It happened on a Thursday morning, one of those overcast, silent days where the light is gray and everything feels like it's waiting to collapse. Leslie had left early for what she said was a client brunch. She wore a navy dress I'd never seen before, low-cut, with a delicate gold chain around her neck. She didn't ask for my opinion, didn't even glance back when she left. Just a quick, "Wish me luck," over her shoulder and the click of the door. I had planned to meet a contractor that morning about redoing the upstairs bathroom, but he rescheduled. I figured I'd use the quiet to catch up on bills. That's when I saw it, Leslie's work tablet sitting on the dining table. She never left it behind. My first instinct was to grab it and text her, "You forgot this." But when I picked it up, the screen lit up automatically. No password. Just a blinking notification on the corner. "Trevor, secure message, couldn't stop thinking about Sunday. That blue dress is burned into my brain. Same time next week? I'll grab groceries again," winking face. My hands froze over the screen. My mouth went dry. I told myself not to tap it. I told myself to walk away. But my thumb was already moving before I could stop it. I opened the messaging app. Dozens of chats. Dozens. And not just one-liners or flirty jokes. Full-blown conversations. Conversations that spanned weeks. Photos. Jokes that made no sense to me but clearly meant everything to them. *** TS of calendar invites labeled client site, Farside Holdings that corresponded to nights she claimed she was in Cleveland, New Jersey, or some random hotel near the airport. There were notes. Lists of things to bring next time. References to a rental house just off the 208 exit where no one ever goes. Nicknames. Codes. Emojis that meant things I didn't understand but didn't need to. "Trevor, the mattress at the cabin's way better than the one you share with him, LOL. Leslie, shoot, don't remind me. That bed's officially ours now. Ours." I sat down slowly, the tablet still in my hand, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. My brain went blank, then filled, then blank again. Rage, disbelief, pain, they all came in waves. I stared at the screen for so long the device dimmed and went to sleep. I tapped it again and read more. She had lied about everything. Every work trip, Every weekend she stayed an extra day because of client delays, every gym session that ended in her coming home with her hair damp and her phone already cleared of texts, all of it had been covered. Built up brick by brick. Months of architecture designed to keep me in the dark. And what hit me hardest wasn't just that she'd done it. It was how easy she made it look. Like it wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. It was a routine. Trevor, should I bring that Merlot you liked last time? Leslie, only if you bring the playlist again. That one song makes me feel dangerous, smirking face. She used the same emojis with me. The same words. I remembered the dangerous thing she said it once when we went skydiving on our 2nd anniversary. I thought it was just our inside joke. But she'd taken pieces of me and repurposed them for someone else. I stood up too fast and had to brace myself on the counter. I wanted to break something. The tablet, the chair, the damn glass vase she insisted we keep filled with eucalyptus stems. Instead, I set the tablet down. I stared at it like it was radioactive. Then I walked out to the garage and just stood there for 10 minutes, breathing like a man who had just outrun a fire. When Leslie came home that evening, everything in me told me to confront her right away. Slam the tablet down. Read her messages back to her word for word. Make her squirm. Make her beg. But I didn't. Not yet. She walked in smiling. Not fake smiling, not awkward smiling. Just normal. As if she hadn't spent the morning planning her next meetup with him. She kissed me on the cheek and made small talk about the restaurant's bread being stale. I watched her like a stranger. I watched her move around the kitchen, humming to herself as she unpacked a salad she didn't finish, talking about how traffic had been chaotic but not awful. Every word she said felt like it came from a script she didn't realize I had already read. She didn't notice anything was off. That scared me. I started noticing details I'd never paid attention to before. Her fingernails were done differently. Trevor had commented on them in the chat. That Darkberg asterisk and why looks dangerous on you. And there it was. Same color. She was wearing the necklace he called the one that makes you look like trouble. How had I been so blind? After dinner, she went upstairs to shower. I waited until the water started running, then I went to her car. I didn't know what I was looking for. Closure, maybe? Some tangible piece of the lie I could hold in my hand. In the glove box, I found a second SIM card. It was tucked behind her insurance card, wrapped in a sticky note that just said, for work. I took it inside and popped it into an old backup phone we kept in the junk drawer. It lit up. A second life. There were more messages. Some from Trevor. Some from someone named T. Others with just initials and emojis. Messages that read like travel logs. One was a hotel confirmation in her name for dates she said she'd been at a leadership retreat in Pennsylvania. The email said romantic getaway package. The receipts kept coming. I opened the email app and found booking confirmations, rideshare receipts, calendars. Her alibis weren't messy. They were methodical. She had built this betrayal like a project plan, deliverables, timelines, logistics. She wasn't impulsive. She was deliberate. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, my fingers still stained with ink from the sticky note. I didn't want to be near her. I couldn't stomach the idea of her climbing into the bed we bought together and curling up beside me like nothing had changed. In the morning, she acted like everything was fine. She made coffee. She teased me about being grumpy. I said I was tired. She smiled and kissed my shoulder. Poor thing. I almost laughed. I was done looking for signs. Done trying to convince myself I was imagining it. I had the truth now, and it didn't care how kind her voice was or how innocent she could make herself sound. There was no room left for doubt. No more, maybe this is a phase, or maybe they didn't mean anything by it. They meant it. They planned it. And now it was my turn to plan. I didn't say anything that next morning. Not about the tablet. Not about the messages. Not about the SIM card or the second phone. I just sat across from her at the table while she sipped her coffee and tapped through Instagram like we were a regular couple with a regular Thursday. The silence between us wasn't empty. It was loaded, dense, like air just before a storm. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and chose not to ask. Either way, that silence was the start of something. Not an explosion. Something slower. Something quieter. Something that would break us down piece by piece. I started removing her one item at a time. It began with the framed photo of us on the hiking trail in Colorado. The one she made me carry home in my backpack because she said it was too perfect to leave behind. I took it off the wall and slid it into a drawer in the garage. Then the throw blanket she always used. The cream one with the stitched edges disappeared from the back of the couch. I folded it, packed it, and stuck it in a box labeled garage. Her scented candles? Gone. Her stack of unread self-help books? Into a bin. She didn't say anything. Maybe she thought I was cleaning. Maybe she just didn't care. She still acted normal. That stunned me. I kept waiting for the moment she'd flinch, that crack in her performance. Some slip, some confession. It never came. She kissed me goodnight like she always did. Slept with her back to me, breathing steady, as if she hadn't just orchestrated a full-blown double life. But I wasn't playing my part anymore. I moved slowly, methodically. I stopped refilling her favorite snacks in the pantry. I canceled our Blue Apron subscription, the one I'd signed us up for after she said she missed elevated weeknights. I deleted the shared calendar we used to sync weekend plans. And when she asked about it, I just said, didn't need it anymore. She blinked. Okay. She didn't press. That's when I knew, really knew, that she wasn't scared. She thought I didn't have the full picture. She thought the video had been the high watermark. A kiss, a slip-up, a nothing thing that I'd eventually let go. But she didn't know about the messages or the rental house or the tracking receipts. She didn't know I'd seen the truth and decided not to let her know I knew. Because when you confront someone, you give them a chance to spin. I wasn't interested in her spin. I was interested in the dismantling. In the garage, I began stacking her things into boxes. Quietly, her off-season clothes, her books, her backup laptop, her yoga gear, her memory foam pillow, one by one, like preparing for an evacuation. I didn't tape them shut yet, just staged them, labeled them, lined them up like little tombstones. The silence between us grew bigger. Some nights we barely spoke. I'd nod when she asked about my day. Say fine. Ask nothing in return. She filled the space with words I didn't listen to. Trevor's being annoying again, she said one night, flipping through emails. I almost choked. Annoying? I said. She looked up. Yeah. He overcomplicates everything. I nodded. Must be exhausting. She didn't look up again. I knew what I was doing might seem strange to anyone else. Playing it cool, holding the cards so long. But this wasn't about punishment. This wasn't about theatrics. This was about clarity. About watching what someone does when they think you're still asleep. And she was still playing house. One night I found a receipt in her car. A hotel 2 towns over. A Thursday stay. It matched the weekend she said she had a team offsite in New Haven. The address on the receipt was a place I recognized, a couple spa. One I had actually suggested for our anniversary 2 years ago. She'd said it was too much of a splurge. Apparently not with Trevor. The final straw wasn't dramatic. It wasn't her coming home late or finding them together. It was an email confirmation she forgot to log out of. She'd booked another stay at the same rental house, the one Trevor referenced in their chats. The one with the mattress, better than the one she shared with me. She was planning to go again. Still, after everything, that's when I realized something had shifted in me. I wasn't angry anymore, not like I had been. It had calcified into something else, something colder. I wasn't heartbroken either. I was awake, clear. I saw her for exactly who she had chosen to be, and I no longer wanted to drag her back to who she was. She wasn't lost. She was gone. So I stopped pretending. I moved into the guest room. She noticed immediately. Did I snore too much last night? She joked. No, I said. Just felt like giving you space. She blinked. You okay? Never better. She didn't believe me. That night, she came in while I was reading and asked if we could talk. I said sure, but didn't put the book down. I feel like you've been distant. I have, I said. She waited for me to elaborate. I didn't. She hovered a moment longer, then backed out. Okay. Let me know if you want to talk. I didn't. I stayed in the guest room every night after that. She didn't knock again. A few days later, I opened her car trunk to grab an umbrella and saw another gym bag inside. Not her usual one, a second one. Inside was a second phone charger, dry shampoo, and a small makeup bag with travel-size products. It wasn't her emergency kit. It was a ready bag. She was prepared. Like someone with a getaway car always half-packed. The final thing I found was the hardest. Not because of what it was, but because of how small it seemed at first. A photo. In the bottom of her nightstand drawer, buried under notebooks, was a Polaroid of her and Trevor. He had his arm around her. They were sitting on a couch I didn't recognize, holding wine glasses, smiling like tourists in their own fantasy. It was candid. Casual. An asterisk mate. And she was wearing the earrings from Cleveland. That's when it clicked. There was a whole world that existed just outside mine. A parallel version of her life that I'd been written out of. I put the photo back exactly where I found it. Closed the drawer. Walked downstairs and turned on the dishwasher just so I wouldn't have to hear my own breathing. The house no longer felt like a home. It was a stage. And the play was ending. That night, while she slept, I sent an email to a lawyer. I didn't say much. Just that I needed to understand my options. The reply came in less than an hour. Let's schedule a time to talk. I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel righteous. I just felt tired. Deep, marrow-level tired. The kind of tired you feel when something you've been carrying finally drops and you realize your arms were numb. I stopped packing her things after that. I'd done enough. The rest would come soon. And she wouldn't see it coming. Because when someone gets used to lying, they also get used to believing you'll never leave. A few mornings after I found the photo, Leslie left again. She stood by the front door in her workout gear, leggings, a long-sleeve crop top, hair twisted up like she was headed to war instead of yoga. I'm going to the gym, she said. Her tone was light, almost rehearsed. She didn't look me in the eye. I nodded from the hallway. Take your time. She hesitated for half a second like she was waiting for something, a question, a pushback, even a fake concern. I gave her none. Just returned to folding the laundry. She didn't come back that night. No call. No check-in. Not even a courtesy lie. I slept like I hadn't in weeks. In the morning, the house was still quiet. A text came in mid-morning. Hey, I think I need a few days. Just to think. I'm staying with a friend. Don't worry. We'll talk soon. I stared at it for a long time before setting the phone face down on the counter. No reply. Not because I didn't have words, but because there was nothing left to salvage. She wasn't asking for space. She was announcing her exit. That afternoon, her sister Kim showed up. I hadn't spoken to Kim in months, not since a family birthday dinner where she and Leslie kept exchanging glances across the table and giggling like they had some private joke. I answered the door slowly, not surprised but still tired of the performance. Hey, Garrett, she said, adjusting the strap on her shoulder bag. I'm here for Leslie's things. I let the silence hang for a second too long. Which things? She said I could grab the rest of her clothes. The essentials, you know, toiletries. Stuff she didn't pack. I stepped aside without saying a word. She didn't wait for permission, just walked right in like it was her place too. I watched her glance around the living room. Her eyes landed on the bare shelves, the missing throw pillows, the candle tray gone from the coffee table. You've been redecorating? She asked, her voice light but edged with judgment. I shrugged. Just simplifying. She nodded. Then her eyes did that thing people's eyes do when they're pretending not to judge you. She looked toward the stairs. She's staying with Trevor, by the way. Just like that. No build-up. No apology. Just delivered with that tight, half-sorry smile people use when they think you already know the worst part. Yeah, I said quietly. I figured. Kim stopped mid-step, facing the staircase, then turned back to look at me. I told her it was a mistake. Her leaving, or the affair? Her mouth opened, closed. I'm not defending what she did. You don't have to. She already did enough of that for both of you. We stood there in silence for a beat, the kind that stretches too long and feels like it's pressing against your ribs. Then she turned and climbed the stairs without another word. I didn't help her pack. I didn't offer a box. I just sat at the kitchen table with my coffee while Kim went from room to room collecting remnants. I listened to the sounds, closet doors creaking, drawers sliding, the soft thud of her shoes on the hardwood. It was like listening to a house exhale. When she came back down, she carried 2 duffel bags and a box, probably the same one I'd used to store Leslie's things the week before. She stopped by the front door, hesitated. She said she might come by next week to get the rest. Tell her not to. She blinked. What should I tell her? That I'm done playing host to someone who already left. Kim looked like she wanted to say more, to soften the blow, to add nuance. But there wasn't any. There was no angle, no version of the story that made it not betrayal. So she nodded, offered a week, take care, and left. The second the door shut behind her, I locked it. That night, I started undoing the house. I took down the gallery wall in the hallway, a patchwork of framed prints and photos Leslie had curated over the years. She once said it told the story of us. I guess the story was over. I pulled the photos from the frames, tossed the prints in a pile, and put the empty frames in a donation box. Next was the bedroom. I stripped the bed, rolled up the comforter, and stuffed it into a garbage bag. Bought new sheets online, a darker set, something cooler. Something neutral. Something that didn't smell like her perfume. I repainted the walls that weekend. Swapped the pale blue for a deeper gray. Something with gravity. By the time I was done, the bedroom didn't feel like ours anymore. It felt like mine. I changed the locks the next day. It wasn't out of spite. It was clarity. You don't let a stranger keep a key to your house. The pain didn't vanish. Let's not pretend this was some victorious, moving on montage. It hurt. Deeply. Even with the lies and the gaslighting and the second phone and the 2 lives, it still hurt. Because I didn't just lose a partner. I lost the illusion of who I thought she was. But here's the strange thing, pain without confusion is manageable. Once you know the truth, you can work with it. You stop spinning in circles trying to decode the silence, the excuses, the missing time. And for the first time in months, I wasn't confused anymore. Leslie had made her choices. She'd built something with someone else and decided it was worth more than what we had. Or maybe she just got tired of pretending. Either way, the door had closed. And I wasn't about to pry it back open. She texted me that Friday. A long one. Kim said you were quiet when she came by. I understand. I'm not asking for anything right now, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I never meant for things to end like this. I didn't reply. She texted again Sunday. I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm not staying at Trevor's forever. I just need space to think. I hope you're okay. Still nothing from me. That night, I took down the last photo of us, the one from our wedding day. She'd framed it in whitewood with the words, "Better Together," etched along the bottom. I removed the photo, burned it in the fireplace, and threw the frame in the trash. No drama. No ceremony. Just finality. I started walking in the mornings again. Not for exercise, but to feel movement. I walked past the cafe where we used to go on Sundays. I didn't go in. I just nodded to the barista through the window. She nodded back. No one asked where Leslie was. Maybe they already knew. There was something liberating about watching the world move on. I told my parents later that week. My dad didn't say much. My mom cried. She asked if I'd be willing to hear Leslie out if she reached out again. No, I said. I heard her loud and clear. She just didn't use words. By the end of the month, the house was different. Not just in the layout or the furniture or the color of the walls. It was mine. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean. There's a difference. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. I didn't need her to grovel or explain or untangle the web she'd spun. The truth stood on its own. What I needed, what I gave myself, was peace. And she couldn't offer that. Only I could.